All right, welcome to the Keto Lifestyle Show. Tracee, how are you today?
Hey, Jessica, it's so good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you too. Hey, I see color of the day is black, apparently.
Oh, well, it's actually because I'm wearing my favorite shirt, deadlifts.
Oh, cute. I love it. Well, hey, that's maybe a perfect segue into talking a little bit about one of the subjects we're going to talk about today, which is the importance of strength training and balanced fitness, as you call it. So I've had you on the podcast before. You were a great guest. I loved talking with you. I'm excited to get right into it today. So let's talk a little bit about the strength training and balanced fitness, especially in the environment that we have going on today, where so many people are on lockdown. We're in our houses. You're not going to gyms. How important is it that we're staying active and have a good fitness routine?
Oh, massively. So first of all, I'd like to say that fitness is like the most underutilized antidepressant, out there, right? So it
Yeah.
will just make you feel so good when you find something that you enjoy and love. But the thing about the balance fitness and the strength training and stuff is our focus is helping women age stronger and healthier, okay, instead of sicker and weaker. And if you don't use it, you lose it. So when I say balanced, it looks like, everybody does this cardio when they're trying to burn fat,
Mm-hmm.
and what we want to teach women to do is to get stronger bones, stronger muscles, stronger joints, better mobility, flexibility, and balance, because those are the things that tend to contribute to injury, and they atrophy with age, right? Like
Yeah.
your range of motion is a huge thing,
Yeah, so that's perfect. I totally agree with you. So what would you tell women then that we need to be doing? What are the things that we should be doing to get those range of motion, to get strong bones, and even for those of us, I think there's probably a few out there that want to get rid of a little bit of extra fat. So how do we accomplish all of that? What does that look like?
So when I start somebody off on a fitness program, we start off with 2 days full body strength training. So Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, because you need rest in between, because the rest is when you make your gains, right? Some people tend to overtrain, in my opinion. And so your muscles, it's like scratching a scab off, So it's trying to repair and heal, and you keep scratching it. So the 2 days in between are super important. And so we would do like 2 days of strength training with mobility work prior to. And that is so that you can prevent injury. So mobility work is things like, doing like really slow wrist circles
Mm-hmm.
or really, really, really slow head rolls. I have like a whole mobility workout thing on YouTube. But that I learned the hard way because I had a shoulder injury. And it was because of lack of mobility. And now with everybody sitting like this
Mm-hmm.
at their computer or the tech neck, we need to open our front body, and strengthen our back body. So open your shoulders and hips and strengthen your core, which includes your low back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big fan of any type of back workouts over like pulling instead of pushing, because we're already here. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. So I've been recently I bought a rowing machine and have been doing a ton of rowing. And that is exactly why, Tracee, because I felt like, even though I try to be cognizant, I'm in front of the computer, you're like this, and I try to remember to put my shoulders back, but it's so hard. And if you're looking at the phone, you've got your phone right here or trying to hold it up so that I'm not like, but I mean, that's not realistic. I'm not really doing that all the time. So I thought, well, I can counterbalance this maybe by doing that rowing machine. And that's exactly the reason why, like you just said, it's the pulling motion, trying to do something different than I don't want my muscles to get used to this hunched over, slumped over position.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's good. Rowing is awesome for your entire body. And I do CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a lot of rowing there, as you can imagine. And since I don't run anymore, when everybody else is running, I'm rowing.
Yes.
So
I'm
good
with
for
it.
you.
I love the rowing. The rowing's awesome. I also like to do kettlebell workouts or just body weight training throughout the week. What do you see as, how are you instructing people to do that? Are you telling them to get weights, just do body weight? What do you see being the most effective for people, or is it individual?
You can go on Amazon and for 20 or 30 bucks, you can get an entire set of resistance bands and with an anchor point so you can stick it like in a door jamb and be able to pull against it.
Yeah.
And my oldest son lives in New York. And so of course their gyms have been closed or he hasn't gone to the gym in almost a year, but you should see his biceps. And it's just from bands.
Yeah.
So you can work your entire body with a really inexpensive set of resistance bands that travel with you. We take them when we go places so that we can maintain, our muscle strength, but they're fantastic.
Yeah. And they're really lightweight. Like you're saying, to travel, that's the perfect thing to travel with. Those are really awesome. I had heard on a podcast not that long ago. Now it's escaping me who said it, which podcast I listened to it on. But it changed the way I was working out. And I spend probably much like you, I spend a lot of, and like most of our listeners probably, I'm in front of the computer a lot. I spend a lot of the time. So I got a standing, well, actually my desk goes from sitting to standing,
Me too.
So I can do both. So I try to do that and try to not just be sitting all the time. And one of the recommendations that I heard on this podcast was, he said he recommends that his clients try to work out 10 minutes, do 10 minutes of movement every 2 hours throughout their day. Now, I've always told my clients, I want you to move every hour. So if you're sitting at work at the desk, just get up, walk around the office, just walk into the break room and get a drink of water, come back, whatever. But this, I thought when I heard this, I thought, okay, well, that's kind of stepping it up a bit, but 10 minutes, right? Big deal. Anybody can do 10 minutes. It is incredibly difficult to do 10 minutes of workout every 2 hours. Like I've realized how hard that is to do. Have you experienced anything like that?
I like your suggestion better. Get up and walk around for 5 minutes because there's people, I talked to a client yesterday, her work schedule, she works 10-hour days with only 2 15-minute breaks. There is no way she's going to be able to get up and do 10 minutes of anything, in the middle of her workday. So I like your idea of, setting your alarm on top of the hour so that you get up and walk around for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And that's actually, I feel like sometimes when I suggest that to people, they're, or even like I said, I've been trying to do this 10 minutes every 2 hours, which has been really hard to keep up with. But I feel like even when I suggest just get up every hour and just walk around, do something, that people think, well, it's just not that big of a deal. Like, what is that going to do for me? But it's amazing how just getting up and moving around gets your blood pumping and your blood flowing. Like you don't realize how just being sedentary like that, like how everything just kind of gets depressed. Like your brain's not functioning as well. You're just all kinds of different, your mood.
Yeah. They say that sitting's the new smoking, you've heard that, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about the strength training and the mobility and all of that. So talk to me a little bit how that plays into as we're aging. So, I know that, being a woman in my 40s, girlfriends in 40s and 50s and 60s, we start noticing things maybe are a little different than say they were in our 20s or even 30s. So how do you see that being different for people and how do we stay stronger as we're aging?
So would you agree that most women come to you just because they want to lose weight?
Yes.
So oftentimes, as we know, most diets are catabolic, meaning muscle wasting. And the doctors tell people, oh, well, you're older. It's just going to be this way. You're going to start losing muscle. You start losing muscle before you're 30. So, but they think that that's permanent, but it's not. Like I'm 55 and the other day I finally hit a 220 deadlift, which has been
awesome.
a goal for a long time. But, and I go to the gym fasted. So people are worried about, oh, I need to eat before I go. I don't have energy. But as you age, I believe you're not too old and it's never too late. So I know at least probably 3 women that started lifting weights in their 70s. And like one of them, she deadlifts 220 at 77 years old. And so I'm thinking,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I heard about her years ago and I'm like, oh my God, if she can do it, so can I. And so it's been a goal. But so many people, they just become complacent and they just don't believe that they can. And so that's what I always want to encourage people is don't set limits on yourself. But the more muscle you have, the more calories you're burning while sleeping. And the more confidence you're going to have, your joints are going to be healthier. Your balance is going to be healthier. So, and don't be afraid of putting on muscle. Like, I'm strong, but I'm not like big and bulky. You know what I mean? They worry about that. They think, oh, well, I don't want to get big and bulky. Well, you're not going to get big and bulky unless you're injecting yourself with, you know, some steroids or testosterone or something like that. And, so, but anyways, but that is really an important thing, is to be stronger. Like, do you want to carry in your groceries forever? Do you want to be able to take boxes off of shelves? So it's all about functional fitness. You know, I really do believe in just the basics, you know, being able to squat down and, you know, touch the ground and stand back up is a good starting point for many.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Exactly what you're saying, Tracee. It's amazing to me how many people don't see the value in just being able to do those things. It doesn't have to be about, you know, some fancy workout routine that you're doing, or I know you do CrossFit, but even, I mean, I have actually never done CrossFit, but from what I understand, it's a lot of functional movement. It's really focused on that. And I think that that's what we can be focusing on when we are doing anything. If you're just working out at home, just practicing, like you're saying, the functional movement. What do you need to be able to do? What do you want to be able to do? And literally you can practice those movements, and that can be your workout. Add a little weight to it if you want, just do body weight. But it's also good just to be moving and getting your endorphins going, getting your brain like, I mean, it's, oh my gosh, it's so good for your brain. I know when I am not active, my mood isn't good. I'm more tired easily. I have a harder time focusing. Can you speak to that at all? Like, why does that happen? And kind of encouraging women, like, it's not just about building muscle. It's just about whole body wellness.
Oh, absolutely. So the other component that we touched on, it was like doing the weight training twice a week. And then this is like the phase one for, you know, what you would say. So weight training twice a week, or strength training of some sort, cardio twice a week. So it could be hiking up a hill. It could be doing a dance set. Like, I have a cardio dance set on YouTube that one of my clients used to, she used to be a Soul Train dancer. Did you ever see Soul Train when you were young?
Yes.
Yeah. And she's like, girl, you got moves. I love her. She's so cute. But finding things that you love that make you feel good, you know, even just doing a 30-minute dance set is easy, right? But it's like, it's challenging on your cardio. And then 2 days of yoga. And that's where the stretching and the mind body go in, is just calming your central nervous system down, and with breath work and just slowing down. Because many of our clients, I'm sure, Jessica, you can agree, that they're type A women. They just are trying to do everything at once, you know, multitasking all the time. And somebody I know said, if you don't have 10 minutes a day to meditate, you need an hour.
Wow.
So yoga meditation doesn't need to be sitting there cross-legged chanting Om. It could be doing yoga or walking in nature. The other day, Sunday, I did a hike up the hill by my house, and it's like 1.8 miles up. And I just was listening to a meditation track and 100% enjoying and being thankful for the nature that I get to live in.
Yeah.
You know, so you can walk and meditate, but yoga and meditate. So it's that whole mind body piece that I think so many people don't realize the importance of.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're so busy going from one thing to the next all the time that that sometimes it's hard to slow down. And again, I feel like I kind of run into the wall sometimes with not just clients, but myself too. And remembering that time sometimes can feel like I don't have 10 minutes. I don't have 10 minutes to get anything done. But like you just said, if I don't have 10 minutes, then I probably do need an hour, because I need to be able to slow down, center, take a breath, take a minute. But I think so many times we just push that off to the side, as it's not as important as getting all of the tasks done that we need to get done. We're very task oriented, and I fall into that trap myself.
Well, the crazy thing is your to-do list is never going to be done.
That's right.
Right? But just 10 minutes a day of meditating. Do you know that 10 minutes a day of meditation boosts immune globulin A, IgA, by 50%?
That's huge. Who doesn't want that boosted right now?
I know, right? 10 minutes a day. I think it's worth that, right?
For sure. It's definitely worth that. That's awesome, Tracee. So your recommendation then typically for the typical person would be to do 2 days of strength training, 2 days of cardio, and 2 days of yoga or maybe Pilates, some type of stretching routine, right?
Stretching. And Pilates isn't really stretching. Pilates is core strengthening more.
Okay.
I used to teach Pilates when the gyms were open. But I think it's important to calm. So that's phase one. And then phase two, we up it to 3 days of strength training, still do 2 days of cardio and still 2 days of yoga. And then we just keep increasing. So for me now, I do at least 4 days, sometimes 5 days of strength training. I do at least, and that includes cardio woven in. And I try to do yoga in the evenings now. So it's not part of my AM workout, but it's more my wind down part. So, but we just keep adding to that base, finding out what you love and what you look forward to doing and do more of that. Because if it's like something you're going to hate and you're not going to look forward to, you're not going to stick to it long term. Right. So it's just finding what feels good.
That's great advice. How much time are you typically recommending to people that they're doing this?
Just start with 30 minutes.
Okay.
That's such a small fraction of your waking hours. So 30 minutes a day is a great place to start and at least investigate and see what you enjoy doing,
Yeah.
Maybe,
I think that's a good point. Trying different things, figure out what you like, and whatever you did for 30 minutes and you were like, wow, the 30 minutes is up already. That's probably what you should be doing more of.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. So I know one of the things, this kind of ties in a little bit with it, and one of the things that you are really good about talking about and having tips about is emotional eating. And I know that I feel like the reason it ties in kind of is I feel like I do less emotional eating or less, I don't know if it's even emotional eating, but less just like not being mindful about what I'm eating when I'm working out, when I'm active, when I have that mindset of like trying to be healthy and, trying to really focus on that part of my life. So talk to me a little bit about that and how women can, kind of work on that emotional eating piece, or even if it's not emotional eating, how do we work on getting that eating piece in with the overall healthy lifestyle we're trying to create that we all want?
Well, you use that special word of mindfulness. So there's a great book. It's called The One Thing. And it says, he who chases two rabbits catches neither. So that's part of mindfulness, right? Is just be here now and focus on what is in front of you. Because then if you're focusing, your choices of eating are going to be a lot less random, right? A lot like one day, seriously, this was years ago. I had just started keto and I was really excited that I could eat macadamia nuts because they weren't fattening anymore, right? Just
been there, guilty.
So one day I was at work and I was in sales and I went to Trader Joe's. I didn't bring lunch with me and I was starving. And so I mindlessly ate 3/4 of a Trader Joe's bag of macadamia nuts.
Yeah.
Without even realizing it, right? I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's actually not that hard to do, just so you know.
I know. It was like, wow. But the thing is that so often, I'm sure you would agree, our clients eat for reasons other than hunger. They could be stressed. They could be bored. They could just be not even paying attention to what they're doing, grab a handful of this or a handful of that. They could be sad, lonely, tired. But it's really about asking yourself, what's going on? What do I need right now? Is it food? Am I hungry? Like, is my stomach growling? Is my body telling me that I need food, or is something else going on? So to me, that's really the mindful question. It's like, what do I need right now? And then if they're stressed, okay, so ask them, if you're stressed, is the food going to take away your stress? Usually not. The stress will still be there when you're done. And how long are you going to eat that pint of ice cream? It's going to take you maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then is your stress still there? Okay, so what can we do to fix the actual emotion that you're experiencing that food's not going to solve? You know, like if you're stressed, what can help you with stress? You know, go outside, take a walk, call a friend, do some meditation, some breath work exercises, go do some stretching. But the biggest thing is just being aware of the stress and what is causing it. And so oftentimes our mind makes up shit, right?
Oh
Whoops.
yeah.
It makes up stuff
Hmm.
that is never going to happen in the first place.
Or even what's going to happen, what we know is going to happen, turns out so much less horrific than what we thought it was going to be because we've allowed our mind to just run with it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
awareness is a really important facet. And then just getting getting inquisitive with it. Like, well, how is this really going on? And just having a dialogue with yourself. You can journal. That's a really good way to get it out of your mind and put it on paper. And you almost like can release it that way. Right. So
Yeah.
like even with sleep, some of my clients have difficulty sleeping. So we do this practice where we journal before bed. So we get rid of our to-do list, we get rid of our emotions from the day, our stressors from the day. And then once it's dumped out of your mind and onto paper, then we replace it with something that's going to serve you. So it could be your vision statement and, affirmations, gratitude, and like a really good book of personal growth. Like what's going to really serve you and help make your life better, like 10 pages a day.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole bunch of, it's like hard to just explain all that in like 5 minutes, but it's really about identifying the emotion that's really going on and figuring out really what the deal is there. And then finding a non-food way or a solution to help overcome what's really happening. Right now, a big thing is loneliness.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
really sad. People are isolated and very, very lonely since they're even not engaging with people at the gym or at work or, their friends circle.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a big one right now. And I think that's really affecting a lot of people and definitely feeding into the emotional eating. So you're getting comfort from that. And I understand that. I mean, we call them comfort foods for a reason, and they may be different to everybody, but it's, something that elicits a feeling of comfort and familiar and a time of, warmth or love or whatever. And when you're in a time like we are right now, where so many people are feeling like they're disconnected from those emotions, they're not getting those emotions from people, it's really easy to go down that path of trying to let that pint of ice cream fill that void.
but it's temporary, right? It fills the void for a minute, but then after you're done, it's going to be even worse oftentimes because you're going to beat yourself up
Mm-hmm.
for, eating the ice cream.
Well,
And
and
you're
the sugar is going to affect your emotions anyway. And so, I mean, I know whenever I let myself indulge in something, I feel terrible. Like I'm not a nice person. I can feel it. I feel the difference. I feel the difference in the way I respond to things, the way I look at things, the way I'm, like the thoughts that are in my head after eating a bunch of just crap food like that, whether it's sugar or the chemicals that's in processed food, I don't know. But I definitely recognize a marked difference versus eating just whole real foods.
mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Chemicals, that's a really good point that you brought up because somebody that's doing one of my challenges right now, she's like, shows me this label of this healthy stuff. Oh, can I have this? I'm like, well, there's gluten in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they don't realize that gluten-free isn't like a fad,
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm like, whole foods are always best, 99% of the time, just eat single ingredient foods.
Totally
So
agree.
because of the chemicals. I mean, that's why, the CDC anticipates or they predict that by 2030, half of our population is going to have cancer.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
how come?
I mean, and we've had the war on cancer for how many decades, right? I mean, we've been throwing money at this for how long? And it is very frustrating because you do have to, at some point, I feel like somebody's going to wake up and go, wait a minute, I wonder why we've not been able to get anywhere with this. Or, we've got, treatments, but we're still, cancer's growing at these exponential rates in our society. Why? Like, take a look at what are we eating? What are we engaging in? As far as, I mean, even the electronics, like, I don't want to get down a rabbit hole with that stuff, but oh man, I mean, you can really get going
So you want to know what I think about all that crap? Okay. So first
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to show
do.
you electronics. That little thing,
Mm-hmm.
that little widget, I have
Mm-hmm.
that on my cell phone and on my laptop. So it's supposed to block the EMFs.
That's awesome.
That's really good. But
Mm-hmm.
here's what I think about the cancer thing. So years ago, I watched the documentary Truth About Cancer. Have you seen that?
I haven't.
So essentially in the US, the pharmaceutical mafia will not let doctors heal cancer or treat cancer with anything other than chemo, radiation, and surgery.
Mm.
Okay, that's it. Now we know that there's other countries that are doing other things to heal people from cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But our doctors' hands are tied, and any holistic type treatments that have worked, all of a sudden these doctors just tend to disappear, get missing. It's
Mm-hmm.
really crazy. I really recommend everyone watch the documentary series Truth About Cancer. I actually, before I went keto, I was looking at it from Dr. Dominic D'Agostino and just kind of investigating and researching. And then I found out that Ty Bollinger, who did the Truth About Cancer documentary series, eats keto. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if he interviewed all the experts around the world and chose this way of eating, then that's, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me.
Right.
But I really believe there's no money in alternative healing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, really, that's the problem. And it's like sacrilegious though, to say that. If you say that cancer's big business because it is, people look at you like you're the devil. It's like, no, I'm just educated. And I understand that if it works, if what we've been doing for all these decades works, where is the proof? Like, where is we've gotten nowhere. We've gotten nowhere. It's because it's big business. We've sunk, I don't even know how much money, billions of dollars, probably more, into cancer research to make more drugs.
Yeah.
Not to find cures.
My dad had cancer, like he died last year. He had cancer 5 different times.
Mm.
I told him, Dad, you got to get off the sugar. He's like, my doctor said it doesn't matter what I eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Dad, you got to get off the sugar. He's in chemo. I'm talking to him on the phone. He's eating candy and cookies and garbage. In chemo, we know that cancer feeds on sugar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's not rocket science, people. It should be malpractice. And it really pisses me off.
It should be. No, it should be malpractice. And it's the same. I mean, really, it's no different than what we're going through now with COVID. It's the same. You don't hear there is no organization out there at all talking to people about holistic methods. They're not talking to people about your diet and how you're affecting your ability to be able to fight this, how you're affecting every cell in your body, how you're affecting the cells that will be infected if you contract COVID. They're not telling people about getting outside and getting fresh air. They're not telling people to make sure your vitamin D levels are good. None of that. Everybody's sitting on pins and needles waiting for a vaccine so they can just inject their bodies with poison. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand. I understand from a level of why are they doing this? Because it's money, it's big business. But what I don't understand is why so many people are willing to just sit back and let this happen. Like they don't see the problem. Like, why do you not see the problem? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's like they are complacent. You know, I have a client who's a doctor and she's been with me for about 7 months and she's learned so much from me. Like she takes pages and pages of notes. And she says she's always passing on that information to her client or her patients.
Mm-hmm.
And she says they'd rather pop a pill.
Yes.
They just would because they're so complacent. And, you know, I also think sometimes people don't realize, like I've raised my kids on fast food, not knowing how bad it is for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started studying nutrition in 2007, I'm like, oh boy, and I had to backpedal, right?
Right.
So I always say you don't know what you don't know, but knowing and not doing is worse than not knowing.
I agree. And I think a lot of people maybe really truly don't know, and they would prefer to pop a pill just because number one, it's easy. But number two, I think a lot of people, that is what we are taught by going to doctors. Western medicine, that's how we're grown, you know, that's how we grow up. We're taught if you have something bothering you, just go see the doctor. They'll give you some kind of medication for it. And so I think that as people age, they expect, well, whatever it is that happens, there'll be some kind of medication that will save me. I don't need to change my lifestyle. I don't need to change the way I eat. And I'm told that none of that matters anyway. It's all genetics, right? Like I'm either going to get it or I'm not. And if there's a pill that's going to take care of it, or maybe it won't take care of it, I don't know. But it's the genetic Russian roulette, and that's crap. It's total crap.
Oh yeah. My parents are both super unhealthy, and I had my 23andMe done and all that. And we know about the science of epigenetics.
Mm-hmm.
People need to read Bruce Lipton's book I can't remember the name of the title, but to talk about like turning your genes on and off. But it's just the complacency. And I saw a funny quote, good for your immune system.
So right.
Being away from germs every day is not good for your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
The depression and the stress and all the other crap is not good. I saw a thing that came out on JAMA the other day that said like 60 to 80% of doctors' visits are stress related.
Wow.
That's killer.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is awful, and people don't realize, and we're all going to have stress. Stress is something that's never going to go away. It's how you respond to it that matters.
Man, I totally agree. I was thinking about this the other day. I was actually thinking, kind of having a little self-reflection moment. I do journal. So I was doing my journaling, and I was kind of having a little moment of self-reflection. And I thought, I am a worrier. Like, even though I feel like I kind of would, if somebody would ask me that, I'd be like, I don't worry a lot. But as I was kind of self-reflecting, I thought, man, I really am a worrier. Like, I spend too much time thinking about the what ifs. But I spend a lot of time telling other people not to think about the what ifs. But it made me, cognizant of that, like that I really need to take hold of that, because like what you're saying, worrying and thinking about the what ifs all the time, that is a huge stress causer, huge stressor. I mean, what it does to your hormones, cortisol, not being able to fall asleep. Like when I know when I've had a day where I've thought too much about things that, what ifs, because I have a difficult time falling asleep.
Yeah. So sleep is underrated, and people, like, I'm doing an immune booster workshop tonight actually, and sleep is one of the tips for boosting your immune system. Like my husband last night did not sleep because he's stressed about a couple things. I'm like, you need to listen to me. People pay money for my wisdom, and you don't even listen, and you can get it for free. But it's like breath work helps. Like, do you know that you can lower your heart rate by like 20 beats by breathing?
Yes. That's a big one.
And it's so simple, and people don't even think to do it,
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about a little bit about the self-care practices that you would recommend for wholeness, for somebody, for their whole well-being. We've talked about the diet. We've talked about, kind of diet, but we've talked about the importance of real food. We've talked about movement, working out, getting some type of a routine down. So talk to me a little bit about what other practices that you would throw in there.
That's a great question, because I always say it's a three-legged stool, right? Fitness, nutrition, and self-care. And self-care happens, there's lots of things, but what we do is we adopt one new habit at a time, so that we solidify it, and then we add another one, and then another one. And I find that so many women my age tend to be giving to their spouses, their children, their parents, their jobs, their pets, their homes, their friends, that at the end of the day, there's just nothing left for themselves, right? So some self-care practices is allow yourself to get enough sleep. Sleep is underrated. Everybody's binge watching Netflix. They're working on their to-do list, and they don't allow themselves the sleep time, which is so important. And so that's one. Meditating 10 minutes a day is one. Okay. So that's really good to calm your central nervous system down. And reading 10 pages a day is great, because it actually grows you as a human being. And, finding books that will actually nourish you and have you be a contributor to society, helping.
I would actually throw in with the reading part too, if I may for a second, is eye health. As we're getting older, at least, I've noticed the more time I spend on these computers, I'm not wearing them right now because for an interview, but blue light glasses, trying to protect my eyes a little bit from all the time that I'm spending on this machine. And I have found that it is actually good for my eyes. I feel like it helps me to read a real book with real pages and
Yeah.
real words, and force myself to focus on those and read those versus this computer screen.
Oh, I always read real books because I like to
Hmm.
highlight and then go
Yeah.
back and just read all my highlights.
Notes. Yeah.
I love that. So I use
Hmm.
my pink pin.
Hmm.
But reading is important. Gratitude practice is very important because when people get stuck in a rut, you want to create this storm of gratitude, like little things like, oh my gosh, my coffee is so great. Oh my gosh, I love talking to Jessica. I feel like we are just on, one and the same, right?
Hmm.
But focus on all those little things and let the gratitude snowball. Because
Yeah.
I really truly believe that when we are thankful for the things and we raise our vibration by having gratitude and good feelings, that we will attract more things to have gratitude and feel good about.
Hmm.
You follow that?
Yeah, totally.
So I'm a big believer in all of the quantum physics and the vibration and just the spiritual realm of life, not just the physical realm,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
totally agree. The spiritual realm is very real. People don't, it's hard, we don't see it, so we tend to just forget about it and think that we're everything. We're not. I also think it's interesting, the word attractive. Like, you think about the word attractive, and I think what you're describing is making yourself more attractive, and you attract things because we look at something, and if something looks angry, worried, not happy, that's not attractive, and things tend to stay away from that. But if we are happy and joyful and we're grateful for things, and we're just, that makes us more attractive to everything
Yeah,
in our world.
it's magnetic. So if you go
Mhm.
down to our core as humans, we're made of cells, which are made of molecules, which are made of atoms. And if you look at an atom in a microscope, 99.9% of that atom is empty space.
Mm.
And then you see like a few little particles, right? Your protons, neutrons, and electrons.
Mhm.
But 99% of an atom is space. So if you think about, we are nothing but a cluster of atoms.
Mhm.
What are we? That's the space is energy. So you know how you can walk into a room and you can feel the tension?
Mhm.
That is a low vibration energy. You can equate it to like the tuning of a radio, right? So
Mhm.
if you are tuned in, your radio signal, your frequency is tuned in to, say, rock and roll, you can't expect to hear country. That's a different frequency. So it's the same thing. We have our frequency, right? And the
I
way
love
you
it.
bring up your frequency and raise up your vibration is by focusing on love, joy, peace, health,
Mhm.
happiness, prosperity, all those feel good feelings.
Yes.
And sometimes you're going to feel some stress or worry or doubt or fear come in,
Mhm.
right? So you just need to turn your back and recalibrate to the good feeling thoughts. And that's where gratitude comes in. It's a
Mhm.
really quick way to appreciate what you have. And
Mhm.
how often do people really do that?
Not nearly often enough. And actually, that it's scientifically, you, in your brain, we actually create those pathways. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the pathways that we create, that it's like roadways. Like, if we travel the same road all the time, you kind of just, you feel like you could get home and you're like, gosh, I don't even remember driving home.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this total habit. You can just do it with your eyes closed almost. It's been proven that it's the same thing in your brain. You create these pathways, and those are the roadways that you take most often, but you can actually recreate. So if you're typically a worrier, or you're always looking at maybe not the bright side of things, if your cup's always half empty, you can change that. You can create new pathways. You just have to meditate on those things. You have to focus
Mm-hmm.
on those things. You have to, as soon as you feel yourself reacting to a situation the way you don't want to react, you just flip that and change your reaction. And eventually those become the pathways that you
Yeah.
default to. Those are the ones you hit with your eyes closed and you don't even think about it. And that's how you create that, that environment that you want to be part of and everybody around you wants to be part of.
Yeah, and they used to think that those loops were plastic and they could never change. And now
Mm-hmm.
there's that whole science of neuroplasticity that we know we
Yep.
can create new loops.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Absolutely.
Sounds
I
like we
love it.
follow the same things.
Yes. That's why I love talking to you, because I agree with you. We're definitely on the same path here and believing a lot of the same things. And I love it. It's good to talk to somebody else sometimes and that you have that connection with, and you feel like, man, okay, there are other people out there that are
Yeah.
thinking this way. Before I wrap this up, I really want to talk to you. I want to give you some time to talk to you about Healthy Hope. Can you tell the listeners about that? Let's take a few minutes talking about that. Now, is this a nonprofit organization?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, talk to us about Healthy Hope.
So Healthy Hope is something we just formed recently, and it is a way to help recently widowed women improve their health, their strength, their confidence, just get them back on a path of happiness and healthiness. So we just literally give them exercise equipment where needed. We give them everything they need for a 90-day transformational journey. They get coaching every week from me. But it's really to help pick them back up and get them on their feet again. Oftentimes, they're not even ready for 1 to 2 years after the passing of their spouse. But when they're ready, we want to be there to help them get back to who they, so they feel good again about themselves. So right now, we just are, getting the word out there. Our 501c3 paperwork is already been filed and underway. And so we're really excited because this is a service. It's a way for us to give back as a company. And so I'm really excited about that.
So what led you to this, for the service for widows? Tell me where that came from.
So one of my teachers a year ago said, you are going to be having a charity for widows. At the time she said that, I said, oh, okay, yeah, right, whatever. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And then one of my clients was a widow, and she was sharing all of her emotional feelings and everything. And then all of a sudden that hit me. I think this was in October. So it was 10 months after my teacher said this to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this. And so literally it all just came about really quickly. I contacted this legal company, and I just had them file all my paperwork so that it got done correctly. And I just put the word out there. I found some widows that needed support, and I was so excited to be able to help them. And they're losing weight. I mean, they can lose 20 to 30 pounds in 90 days and learn everything that our paying clients do, but they don't have to pay for it.
That's awesome.
So, because oftentimes this one lady, she was crying on the phone to me, Jessica. She's like, I don't even have $200 left over after paying all my bills, because we went from 2 incomes down to just mine, and I'm trying to keep the house. And, so financially, they're in a really hard place most of the time,
Well, and especially today, like just thinking about all the things that you don't have access to, or, the friends, the family, potentially, the things that maybe you typically would be able to go do to help. And there might be a lot of people feeling like right now they don't really have that. And to be left alone in the, environment that we're in right now in this country, I think would be a very scary time to be on your own.
Yeah, loneliness. I mean, my mother-in-law, she's 86, and before COVID, she was super active. She played poker and bunko and bocce ball, and, she just was super active. And she's been a widow for over 30 years. But her friends are what lift her up and keep her happy and healthy and all that. But now, these ladies don't have any, connection really. So I'm really excited that we have that, this organization we're putting together. We're hoping to just be able to help a lot of widows. And we know that this year, because of COVID, there's so many of them. And the way we get them started is they do our free 5-day challenge. We're not taking everyone. They have to show commitment to our philosophy, which of course, is the Keto Lifestyle. So they have to do my free challenge. And then if they complete the challenge, then we jump on the phone and we talk about moving forward. So, but That's it. They don't have to do much to qualify. Just show commitment to what they say they want to achieve. And then we just bring them in with open arms.
That's awesome. So where can someone go to learn more about this?
Oh, goodness. I think the website.
Well, you can also give it to me and I can just put it in the show notes.
Okay. I think it's thehealthyhope.org.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right.
And
Well, I'll make sure to confirm that. We'll get that put in the show notes so that somebody can reach out if they're interested in learning more about that. I know a lot of widows in my life. My mother-in-law, for instance, you were talking about your mother-in-law. She's 80. She has been widowed 3 times. 3 times.
bless her heart. That
I know. She's amazing, but, and is happily married now to her 4th husband. So, yeah, but my sister-in-law was recently widowed, when my brother died just a few months ago, unexpectedly, very tragically. She's young. So it happens. It's the spectrum of women, are losing their husbands. And I can't imagine. I just couldn't even, I don't know what I would do, honestly. So I think it's amazing that you have an organization like this to help women that need it. They need the support. They need the help just to figure out probably how to pick up the pieces and get on with life, a new life that, you have to get used to this whole new way of doing things. And probably a lot of them learning the self-care that you're talking about, learning how to take some time for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super important to heal your heart. I always say you can't pour from an empty cup. And so by filling your love cup up first, you're better able to perform in all the other areas of your life without resentment. That's the key for me. It's without the resentment, because I have this, it's a Bible verse that says, for God loves a cheerful giver. And I have to remind myself of that verse. Don't give out of because you feel like you have to. Give because you're happy to,
I totally agree with that. I know that verse and I love that verse. And I think that is totally right on. Totally right on. I think that's super important. And I also, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you did not get a chance to share that you feel really compelled to share with the listeners, or that you just want people to hear?
I think so one thing that's important that I think is something new for me is our breathing and beats meditation. I call it sexy breaths. And I have tried for years to meditate because I knew it was good for me. I have all the apps on my phone. I've bought meditation things from various people, and nothing ever stuck. And then somebody came on my podcast that taught me a way to do breath work that includes meditation. And I fell in love with it. And so I'm like, oh my God, I have to get certified in this. So that's my new favorite thing. I would love to actually have you on one of the workshops I do, Jessica, so you can check it out. But it's changed my life. It has given me a way to get deep into meditation with multiple health benefits, because you're not just meditating, but you're doing different types of breath work.
Oh, that's awesome.
Intermittent hypoxia. So, and you're also doing some other stuff that helps female wise. That's why I call it sexy breaths. But that's been the biggest change for me recently, because being able to literally sit for 20 minutes and go deep into that relaxation state has helped a lot.
Oh, that's incredible. So again, will I be able to share, is there a link or something that I can share in the show notes that listeners can go and learn more about that?
Yeah, it's just sexybreaths.com.
Sexybreaths.com. That's awesome. Well, that's fun. Now I'm intrigued.
You can come. I'll have you as a guest any Monday night. I do.
Oh, I would love that. That would be awesome. All right. Well, this has been awesome, Tracee. As always, I love talking with you. I think you said it before, sister from another mister. I totally agree. Right on. So it's been great talking with you. Tell the listeners where they can learn more about you, other than these awesome things you've got going on. But do you have a website somewhere that they can learn more about you, potentially reach out to you for coaching if they're interested?
Sure. My blog is highenergygirl.com. I'm all over any social as the High Energy Girl, YouTube, Facebook, wherever. And that's been my brand for, gosh, long time ago. But I want to thank you, Jessica. I just love talking with you. We need to stay connected more often because, I mean, it's just so fun to be able to really share common interests that people get you. Most people out there that like are in my local sphere of influence, they don't get me at all.
Yeah, I would think you're a little bit of an island where you are.
Yeah, I am
I have,
totally opposite from all of my friends. They
yeah,
think I'm just kind of out to lunch, but I don't care what they think, you know?
right.
I love the quote from Dr. Seuss. It says, be who you are and say what you feel, for the people who matter don't mind, and the people who mind don't matter.
That's right. I agree. That's a good one. We'd all do well, especially in today's environment, to remember that.
Oh, for sure. That's for sure.
All right, Tracee. Well, it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being on the podcast again. And until next time, have a good one.
Thank you, sweetie. You too.